In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the quadratic formula to find real solutions of quadratics. So no imaginary solutions will be covered in this video. All right, number one already looks kind of weird because there's y's and we're so used to x's, but it's the same thing. We'll follow the same pattern as if we're using x. And so I'm going to start by rewriting this. I'm going to take this 3y to the other side. And so I'm just rearranging it so that it's 6y squared minus 3y minus 5 is equal to 0. And you could pretend that those are x's if you want. So I might even just rewrite this again underneath. Same thing. All right, so if I'm using the quadratic formula, I always tell my students, write the formula every time that you do the formula. It'll help you study while you do it. And I'm going to embarrass myself and sing the song. X equals opposite b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so I have in the formula that this is a, that this is b, and that this is c. So I'm now going to plug those values into the formula. So I have x equals opposite b is positive 3. If it was negative 3, you change the sign because it's opposite, plus or minus the square root. B squared is negative 3 squared minus 4 times a times c. So I have plopped those values in where they go. 6 goes a. I have negative 3 is my b value. And then I have c is my c value. And then I'm going to do 2 times a on the bottom, which is 2 times 6. Oops. All right, the next step with the quadratic formula is to simplify the discriminant, and what that means is type in all the stuff underneath the radical sign without the radical. And so I'm going to go to Desmos because that's my preferred calculator, and I'm going to do negative 3 squared minus 4 times a times c, and I don't honestly remember what those were, so let me go back and grab them. 6 and negative 5. So again, I did not put the square root. I'm just typing the inside of the square root in. And so that gives me 129. All right, so I have 3 plus or minus the square root of 129 all over 12 because 2 times 6 is 12. Now, I'm going to try to simplify the square root of 129, and I'm just going to do that off to the side here. And I already know that that is not a perfect square, but I'm going to start just trying to divide it. So like if I have the square root of 129, this is a prerequisite skill really for the quadratic formula, knowing how to simplify. I just took it in my calculator and divided it by 3, and I got 3 times 43. Now, 43 is a prime number, so even though 129 can be broken down, it can't be broken down any further, and so I really can't simplify this radical, and I cannot simplify the fraction, so I'm going to write my answer like this. Y equals, I'm just switching back to y since that was the variable in the problem, is 3 plus or minus the square root of 129 over 12. Again, usually we have x, but this weird problem used a y, and that is not beautiful, but you get the gist. All right, so number 2. Number 2 uses r's. So again, weird variables here. So I've got it already in standard form. It already goes ax plus bx plus ax squared plus bx plus c. And so I have a, b, c. So my a value is 3, my b value is negative 1, and my c value is negative 2. Now, a quality of someone who wants to be an expert mathematician is going to write out the formula every single time because it helps you remember the formula. So I'm going to do x equals opposite b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, and then I'm going to plug in those values into where they go. So I have x is equal to opposite of b. B was negative 1, opposite is positive 1, plus or minus the square root. B squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. And I again have just taken these numbers. A was 3, b was -1, and I did opposite of that first part. And then c was c, and I forgot my other little a right here. And so a goes in both of those places. All right, so next we simplify the discriminant. So I have -1 squared minus 4 times 3 times -2. So negative, oopsies, -1 squared minus 4 times 3 times -2, and that gives me 25. I'm going to jump down here. It doesn't matter really where you go. Just keep your work organized. 2 times 3 is 6. All right, well, I know the square root of 25. It's 5. That's a perfect square. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to split it into 2. And so I'm going to solve it as 1 plus 5 over 6. And I'm going to solve it as 1 minus 5 over 6 because square root of 25 is 5. I have to do plus or minus 5. 1 plus 5 is 6 over 6 is 1. 1 minus 5 is -4 over 6 is -2 over 3. And so then my two solutions are -2 over 3 and 1. All right. Number 3. We have 4x squared plus x equals x plus 5. I want to get this in standard form. And so my first step is going to be to get this x to go over and the 5. There's nothing to combine the 5 with though. So when I do this, it's going to be 4x squared. X take away x cancels out. And then I'm going to have minus 5 is equal to 0. This is okay. A is just 4. B is just 0. And C is -5. All right, being that excellent mathematician that I am, I'm going to write my formula out. X equals opposite B plus or minus the square root B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. All right, so now I'm going to plug in those values where they go. I've got this B, I've got B, I've got A, and I've got C. All right, let's plug them in. So I have X equals opposite of B. Well, you can't really have the opposite of 0, so it's just 0. Plus or minus the square root 0 squared minus 4 times -5 all over 2 times 4. All right, you know the drill. We're now going to type the underneath of that radical into Desmos. Again, it's called the discriminant. So 0, 4, and -5. Let's just swap them out. So 0, 4, and -5 gives me 80. And I have that this is x is equal to 0 plus or minus the square root of 80 over 8. You've got to see if you can simplify the square root of 80. So I'm going to do that off to the side here. I know that 80 is really 8 times 10, or you could do 2 times 40, whatever you're thinking of. 8 is 2 times 4, 10 is 2 times 5. Keep going till they're all prime. This is the factor tree method. There's other methods. I have 2 sets of 2, so 2 times 2 comes to the outside. The 5 is left inside. And so I am going to write this as 0 plus or minus 4 square root 5 over 8. Now this can be simplified because 0 over 8 is just 0 and 4 over 8 is 1/2. And so I am going to write my final answer as plus or minus 1/2 square root 5, or you could write it as square root of 5 over 2. Those are the same thing. So I just divided the 0 and the 4 by 8. Hope this helps.